Hello and welcome to the Road to Autonomy. The Road to Autonomy is brought to you in part by Stantec Generation AV. Stantec Generation AV combines some of the most experienced AV experts in the industry with the resources of a global engineering firm. Stantec Generation AV provides education, consulting, assessment, and guidance to any industry interested in autonomous vehicles. Learn more at stantec.com. Hello and welcome to the Road to Autonomy. I am your host, Grayson Brulte. On today's episode, we're absolutely honored to have Jeremy Bezdek, Managing Director of Strategic Platforms, Koch Industries, and Kristof Vereenooghe, CEO EVBox. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Super excited to have this conversation. Koch Industries is doing incredible things, and EVBox is going on to enable us to have an electric vehicle future. Jeremy, to begin the conversation, will you please kindly share a high-level overview of Koch Strategic Platforms and insight into what drives the investment philosophy?
Sure, Grayson, and thank you for having us on. Koch Strategic Platforms is a relatively new company within Koch Industries. It started in the fall of 2020. It's part of the larger Koch Investment Group. And Koch Strategic Platforms' mandate is to look for opportunities to invest in tailwind industries, in companies looking for growth equity, either as public companies or late-stage private companies, maybe soon-to-be public companies. We invest in key verticals, specifically Industry 4.0, connectivity, healthcare technology, and my vertical, which is energy transformation. And so our goal really is to invest in companies where we believe we can bring capability and enable mutual benefit for the companies that we invest in.
And Koch Industries has a long track record of making really great investments. On the KDT side, you have the investment in Outrider, and you're helping them, and you have a really strong track record as a company of doing really great things, providing strategic capital, and allowing companies to grow and prosper. Kristof, EVBox is the market leader in providing EV charging solutions in Europe, which gives the company a number of strategic advantages, one of which is understanding fragmented markets, which require specific hardware and software requirements. Is your open architecture platform the key to unlocking these fragmented markets?
Yes, absolutely. And as you mentioned, we are market leader in Europe, based in the Netherlands, with our headquarters, which I call the Silicon Valley of EV charging. So we've built up a lot of experience over the last decade. Our open architecture allows us to access the broadest possible and total addressable market. EVBox becomes a reliable partner for other actors in the ecosystem, such as fleets, utilities, but also the OEMs or car makers, and the charging network providers. Many large customers require interoperability to be even considered for a potential sale, as multi-hardware management is a critical factor in their business. This commitment to interoperability will be even more important as the market matures, including the US on the longer term.
I absolutely love the term the Silicon Valley of EV charging. That's something that you should print out and hang up in the office because it's absolutely cool and fantastic. Jeremy, is you invest in EVBox, which is located in the Silicon Valley of EV charging. You're focused on energy transformation. You're onto something because in the press release announcing the strategic partnership with EVBox, the release stated the following: Koch Strategic Platforms aims to be the preferred partner beyond capital investment by leveraging the resources and capabilities of Koch Industries, not only creating new platforms for Koch, but also accelerating growth for companies which it invests. Could you talk about that, please?
Yeah, sure. So, we don't view ourselves as commodity capital. We view ourselves as capital that brings capability. And the concept of mutual benefit is real. It is important to us. We have already started conversations around Koch about who may be able to provide capability to EVBox. Just as an example, we have 13 companies engaged within Koch right now, looking at opportunities where capability could be applied to help EVBox grow, and specifically in their rollout in the U.S.
That's fantastic. Is that applying the Koch's Republic of Science approach?
Yes, one that you've heard previously in podcasts, as you mentioned, with Chase Koch and Koch Disruptive Technologies. They started the Koch Labs concept really when KDT started investing in companies 3 to 4 years ago. We have tried to apply their learnings, and we lean on them to help us understand where there have been learnings and how mutual benefit can be seen within investments. And EVBox is the first investment that Koch Strategic Platforms will be applying this concept to.
And I just want to highlight to the listeners, and thank you for mentioning that we absolutely had the honor of having Chase Koch on an earlier episode, is that when Koch invests, there is a meaningful caring, there is access to resources. And as you said, it's not just capital, it's strategic capital, and having relationships with several individuals in your organization. You really care and you want to do the best for the companies you invest in. And it's something that the whole Koch Industries, up to Mr. Charles Koch, should be extremely proud of, because you're doing really good by allowing entrepreneurs to succeed and reach their dreams. Kristof, researching this, your company, I was completely blown away and utterly impressed. With an installed base of over 200,000 charging ports worldwide, EVBox is beginning to expand into the United States. Why is the timing to the United States now? Because you're building this incredible moat worldwide, and now you're going into the United States, which is starting to see the EV adoption tick up. Was that the main reason why you decided to come to the United States now?
Well, thanks for the nice words, Grayson. Yes, we have consolidated our position in Europe, and we have the flexibility to grow beyond. So with new technology being developed that is built for scalability and flexibility, but also the new administration will boost incentives and momentum in the US market. On top of that, with the partnership with TPG and going public, it will give us the capital and the resources to scale. But most importantly, many competitors in the US are closed systems and don't provide the same benefits as EVBox, so there is a real need for our model and our software here in the US market.
And your TPG relationship along with Koch is fantastic, because for our listeners that might not remember, TPG was one of the largest investors in Airbnb and helped Airbnb scale, and hopefully EVBox can scale to the same size of Airbnb as you go public. And Kristof, I'd love to know, how will the partnership with Koch accelerate your growth plans?
Well, we are super excited about this partnership, and it will actually help us to accelerate our position by collaborating with their companies, like Jeremy just mentioned, but also the deep relationship with other leading corporations will definitely help us. Koch has one of the largest fleets and a massive real estate in the world, so electrifying their businesses around the world will give us moat. And Koch will also enable us to create success stories and build fit-for-purpose products while benefiting from their expertise in the US market and on a global scale.
You're 100% right about the expertise. Jeremy, how did you first learn about EVBox? What ultimately led to the investment?
So Koch and TPG, who was previously mentioned, have had a relationship for a long time. We invested in TPG's SPAC, and then as TPG identified EVBox as their target merger candidate, we were given the opportunity to invest in EVBox. And with their footprint, their European leadership position, and quite frankly, our energy transformation vertical, it made sense. It was a perfect fit for what we were looking for. With the vision that Kristof had to do a U.S. rollout, we felt like our capability could be applied to help them, and so it was a perfect fit for us to invest.
Fantastic. Will those capabilities come together with KDT and KSP and complement each other? To you have like the Outrider, for example, which is electric vehicle charging for yards. Will those two organizations inside of Koch come together to complement and to help EVBox scale?
Yes, Koch Disruptive Technologies, as I mentioned earlier, has been doing this for a while, bringing mutual benefit to companies in which they invest. For us, it's about learning from their experience and being able to apply those learnings, as I mentioned before. Koch Disruptive Technologies is a bit of an earlier stage investor. We're a bit of a late stage investor, so there is a handoff there. We work together very closely. They originate opportunities for us. As we see opportunities that come in that may be too early for us, we provide those opportunities to them. So there's a real partnership there, along with the other companies within Koch Investment Group. I've heard my boss, David Park, the president of Koch Strategic Platforms, talk about the Olympic rings, if you think about that, of how all of our companies within Koch Investment Group work together to identify opportunities, get them to the right location where we can be most successful in our investments.
You're an entrepreneur's dream. You have early stage capital, late stage capital. You give entrepreneurs not only resources, but the strategic capital they need to to scale. Again, it's absolutely fantastic. And Kristof, I love the approach where EVBox is partnering with companies such as Engine, a multinational energy company, and Scania, the commercial vehicle manufacturer, to provide complete charging solutions to customers in over 13 countries for Scandinavia. How are these charging solutions going to be rolled out?
Well, Grayson, I have positive news for you. I mean, in the meantime, Scania has extended the partnership to over 20 countries across pan-European Europe level. So Scania and its fleet customers, they have large depot fleets, and we help setting up the complete charging infrastructure for them. The solutions are developed and adjusted for their own truck and buses needs. So it means hardware, software, and services. And then Engie comes in and provides the installation and maintenance services across Europe. Having leading partners that choose to work with us is actually a validation of the EVBox difference in the charging solutions in the market for fleets.
You have the fleet business that's going on. You also have partnerships with 3 out of the 4 largest European automakers for branded home chargers. It seems to me that you're building a long-term competitive moat. You have the fleet business on one side of the moat, and then you have the home chargers with the OEM relationships on the other. Will you talk about that strategy, please?
Yeah, with pleasure. I mean, partnering up with the OEMs, automakers, is an important part for the future and the success. The automotive industry is actually key to gain market share in the residential home charging market. And the OEMs are critical about their partners, as the charging experience reflects automatically their brand. So these partnerships allow us to develop automotive quality-grade products and solutions, and keep up with the development of all the new electric vehicles that are coming to the market. The partnership also includes, in many cases, the use of the white label software, giving us a tremendous amount of data, and in the future, millions of users and drivers that will be on our platform. So the scale will also help us to further invest in R&D and innovation across all our different products and solutions.
For an example, let's say I'm in Europe and I buy an Acme car that's fully electric and I get a home charging, is that all branded that company? And then you're providing all of the hardware and software behind the scenes, but that OEM is enabled to keep their brand experience?
There's more and more OEMs that are coming with those type of solutions, that on the moment that you purchase a car, you're automatically going to get also or purchase the charging solution branded of the OEM, and it comes as a package. So that's the new trend that we see in the market. Yeah,
brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because you're allowing your customers to shine. You mentioned earlier the company's based in the Netherlands. 72% of all new cars registered in December 2020 in the Netherlands were fully electric. So EVBox is clearly well positioned to continue growing your home charging market business. When you begin to scale EVBox in the United States, will that home charger strategy be one of those competitive modes that you look to expand across the pond?
Yes, but at first we will focus on the business segments where our upcoming products have distinguished and competitive features compared to the competition, such as user friendliness and cable management on the hardware, but also our open architecture software platform. At a later stage, with the introduction of a new generation of home chargers, we will definitely build the right channels to capture value in the home charging market in the US.
You've mentioned the open architecture quite a few times during this recording. Would you please kindly expand on that for the listeners so they can have a true understanding of what it is?
Yes, if you see, the European market is a couple of years ahead of the US market when it comes to EV charging. And since the early days, and as it started actually in the Netherlands, as I mentioned, the Silicon Valley of EV charging, where open standards and protocols have been defined, so that if a customer is installing a charging station, I mean, at the end, especially larger fleets, they want to be able to select one software platform which they can operate multiple hardware. Also from a risk management point of view, our software platform allows that. And also, on the other hand, our hardware is capable of also running in other systems. And it is important if you have different networks, like if you travel throughout Europe from Norway to Spain, you want to be able to charge all the way with one solution, but you're going to be charging on different networks. So that interoperability, the connection, the roaming between the different networks is key, so that you have a seamless customer journey for the EV driver. And that creates convenience, and that creates happy EV drivers, and that will help the adoption of electric vehicles in the market.
And not only that, you are eliminating the friction and you're eliminating the range anxiety, you're 100% right that you will increase adoption, because once we can eliminate the friction and we can get consumers, mostly in the United States, over range anxiety, electric vehicles will completely take off. Kristof?
Yeah, and there may be something to add. What is also important for large customers and fleets is that their data is not wall guarded, so that they keep the relationship with their customer. And that is also part of that open architecture.
Wow. So that OEM can have that direct relationship with the customers. We're seeing like Volvo, for example, is going all electric and going all online sales. They maintain that entire relationship with the customer?
Yeah, and there's more brands going in that direction. I mean, in all different places in the world.
I don't understand why every OEM's not banging on your door and knocking it down and saying, we want your solution.
Well, we have to make choices.
Kristof, will your automaker strategy extend to the United States?
Absolutely, for sure. And we are already in conversation with different automakers in the US. Unfortunately, I cannot disclose anything for now. But as we are doing in Europe, we expect that automakers will play an important role in our remote in the US.
Absolutely fantastic. And you mentioned the new administration. We are going to see a lot of money dedicated to building out of EV infrastructure. There's bills that are being debated in Congress now to put EV charging on federal highways, and that will be another boom for the electric vehicle business and another boom for EVBox. And Jeremy, Koch has an incredible, vast supply chain of resources. Koch understands how the supply chain works. Will EVBox be able to tap into that supply chain and ramp up production as the business expands in the United States?
Yes, that's absolutely the conversations we're having right now with various Koch companies. Where can we bring either logistics capability, materials of construction, even to the point of looking at opportunities where we could do molding for the actual station box and partner with EVBox, in that situation. So we have had those conversations. We're learning about what their needs might be. They're learning about what capability we have, and then we're going to marry those together with the opportunities that make the most sense for both of us.
Another reason why you're not just capital, you're strategic capital. Jeremy, building upon that, what are your thoughts on the current state of electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging in the United States?
Well, as we've discussed, the charging infrastructure is going to be a key impediment to the growing trend of EV adoption. The range anxiety you mentioned, Grayson, is a key point in the U.S., and I think Kristof and his company can solve this problem. We clearly are seeing trends of EV adoption rates in the U.S. up and to the right over the next decade. I think as you start to eliminate constraints such as charging infrastructure, you will continue to see those trends accelerate.
I agree with that. And when you start putting charging at home and charging in the office, then as Kristof brilliantly said, you have a seamless experience, then it's off to the races. Kristof, when do you think we're going to see a tipping point in the United States where consumers are going to opt for electric vehicles over the traditional internal combustion engine vehicles?
Well, I believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, we will see massive momentum and growth, and that the tipping point will happen faster than current experts are actually expecting. Today, the trends do not show that for now, but the US market will benefit from the new administration incentives and the many state rebates that are coming. So the acceleration is really happening.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into the acceleration because you're seeing it on the passenger side of just, taking your children to school or going to the grocery store. And we're also seeing it on the commercial side where fleets are becoming electric. Kristof, and you've been quoted as stating the following: "We empower forward-thinking businesses and drivers to build a sustainable future where everyday transport is electric and emission-free, but providing flexible and scalable electric vehicle charging solutions." EVBox, it offers its products to companies such as Amazon, Hilton, IKEA, and McDonald's, to name a few. Are these customers part of a larger overall strategy to gain brand recognition because those are brands that Americans know, like, and trust?
Yes, absolutely. And actually partnering with those great organizations like the ones you just mentioned is key to build large projects, but also long-term lasting relationships. Brand recognition towards these brands and businesses is part of our approach to new markets as a reliable, intelligent, and accessible brand. The brand recognition goes beyond also just products or solutions. And that is why we also want to be a thought leader and an example for the industry. Just to mention you, we are planting a tree for every charging station that we ship. That is part of our DNA, our culture, giving back to society, making a positive impact in this changing world. And that is also how we want to position our brand in this fast-moving change towards zero-emission mobility.
I just want to clarify this. You plant a tree for every charging station you ship. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And we have been doing that for years now. And actually, we did it last year in California after the fires. In the areas that were suffering most from the fires. We did the same in Portugal. We did the same in Australia. So really making a positive impact back to society and the larger customer base.
That's awesome. You're a CEO of a company that cares and has values. Absolutely fantastic. I really like how you're planting the trees around the globe. You're not just focusing on one region or one state or one country. So I got to give you a lot of credit for that. And EVBox operates in over 70 countries. That presents opportunities, challenges. How are you adapting to the local culture, the customs, the habits as you introduce your brand into countries all around the world?
Well, we do that, first of all, by listening to the customer and their needs. We also do it by understanding the market maturity when it comes to e-mobility. And we hire local expertise and ask them to support us in the translation of our strategy, to localize our strategy for that specific country or region. But also very important is to respect their culture and incorporate also their language into our offering. You have to know that our software platform, Evron, is running already today in more than 21 languages out of the gate.
When you go into that country, you're running in 21 different languages, does the user interface change based on there might be a certain customer culture or habit that country is used to? Do you adopt the software user interface for that?
And it's more than that. I mean, we also take into account, all the local things like local VAT or sales tax, the local differences in the energy market, the way of charging. So it's really a fully customizable white label, a platform that can be white labeled. It's a platform as a service, fully cloud native enterprise solution, and set up in a very flexible way.
I love how you respect local culture. I'm a huge fan, and I'm not going to stop saying this. I love how you plant the trees, which is awesome. You understand cultures. And Jeremy, KSP President David Park in a Bloomberg February 2021 interview said the following: "We believe there are huge opportunities for charging, and EVBox will become a clear leader." What Kristof has said during this podcast, it's becoming pretty clear they will become a leader. What are some of the growth opportunities that you see for EVBox?
Well, one quick tweak to David's quote that I actually picked on him a little bit about was that EVBox will become a leader. I don't think they will. I think they already are, clearly, in what they've done in charging port installations around the world. So, but I've already discussed that with David, so we're in good shape. I think on the opportunity side, there's a couple. That I'll just speak to as an example. Number one, an opportunity for a sister company of ours named Envista, who has nylon 6/6 material that can go into the charging station as a material of construction. An awesome opportunity for Envista. They've been targeting this space for some time, and so a relationship with EVBox will be key. A company like Sentinent Energy, who has relationships with utilities all over the U.S., is an area where we believe we can bring those relationships to bear and help EVBox as they roll out throughout the U.S. Those are just two examples. We've had 13, I think I mentioned earlier, 13 different Koch companies that have reached out to our team to express interest in helping EVBox and look for opportunities where they can bring capability. We've been quite active with the press release around our investment with EVBox, both externally and internally, and in fact, a lot of momentum internally because of that. So that a lot of opportunities that we see.
There's incredible opportunities inside of Koch, and it's incredible how Koch is such a vast corporation, and everybody's an entrepreneur, and Mr. Koch has written about that and spoken about that. It's absolutely fantastic because it's everybody wants to help everybody do good and succeed. Jeremy, will Koch deploy EVBox charging stations at the Koch offices around the world, from the headquarters in Wichita to Georgia-Pacific in Atlanta?
We are actively identifying a first pilot location. Kristof and his team have talked with our folks about putting in maybe a 4 or 5 or 6 station installation initially at one of our sites. We're trying to pick the right one that will have demand, because we have employees that actually drive EVs and would want to utilize the stations. And so we're making that selection. And then we're also having conversations all over the globe with both production facilities and office locations to trying to find other opportunities where we could do charging station installations. We feel like there will be many. With 115,000 employees all over the world, there's a lot of those employees are driving EVs today, and so finding opportunities for installations is a big piece of what we're looking at.
Will any of those installations go over to the commercial side of the house for fleets as the Koch starts to electrify some of the fleets?
Yes, we are having conversations as well. Now, I will say that a lot of the sister company fleets have been evaluating cost, evaluating different opportunities for how they power their fleets. An EV model is clearly on the table for them. What might be a concern for them is charging infrastructure. Our relationship with EVBox should start to quell some of those concerns, and I do believe that we will see some fleet electrification across the globe with Koch fleets.
Awesome. Kristof, will fleet charging continue to be one of the big business lines that, as you expand and mature and grow, that you'll continue to focus on?
Absolutely. It's a huge market. And especially in North America, it's going to be probably the segment that is going to accelerate the first, and it's going to be, really big. You're going to see corporate fleets and even depot charging for trucks, buses, and vans. That will be a key segment. Especially in Europe, it's even very specific, because you have a lot of people driving an employer's car, and so those vehicles are leased and part of larger fleets. And of course, companies want to lead by example, take into account the ESG, and they want to electrify their fleets completely. So fleets will accelerate the industry and the electrification of all type of vehicles and empower drivers. Of course, fleets also require more complex solutions on the software side, on the hardware side. But we are at the forefront of that and are really focused to build a very good success in the fleet market and the different continents.
Combining your incredible software with your hardware, does that give you a competitive advantage as you go to fleets, as you mentioned that
yes,
they have different requirements?
Absolutely. And there is way more complexity with fleets, especially when you deal with depots, where you deal with limitations of the grid sometimes. So smart charging is key. So the embedded software in the hardware, but also the software platform that is managing that, the integration to the grid, so that the software plays really a differentiator in the electrification of fleets.
Kristof, I have to tip my hat to you, sir. You've clearly thought through EV charging. You didn't just say, I'm going to build an EV charging company. You've really thought this through, of all the different challenges. You're looking at the right markets. You're doing an absolute incredible job. And gentlemen, as we look to wrap up this insightful conversation, I'd like to ask the following. And Jeremy, I'll start with you. What would you like our listeners to take away with them about Koch and the company's investment approach towards new economy companies?
Well, specifically in Koch Strategic Platforms, as I mentioned, we are not commodity capital. We're looking for opportunities to invest in companies, in tailwind industries where we can bring capability that will allow for mutual benefit and provide growth opportunities for the companies in which we invest. That's our stated mandate. We've been somewhat successful early on here in a very short period of time. We've invested $1.4 billion in the last 5 months in the various verticals that we are focused on. So we're very active. EVBox is a big piece of that. And as I mentioned, one of the first Koch Labs applications for Koch Strategic Platforms is EVBox. And it's been a great relationship to this point. And we look forward as we continue to find opportunities where we can explore mutual benefit between the two of us.
It's going to be really fun to watch EVBox scale in America and see a press release from from Koch Industries about this partnership and how it evolves. And I'll tell you something, deploying $1.4 billion in capital in 5 months is absolutely impressive. And it says that you're really serious about the new economy. Kristof, EVBox, you're coming to America. What would you like our listeners to take away with them as you bring the EVBox brand from Europe to America, and then you prepare for this massive, incredible scaling opportunity?
Yes, we are coming to America and we are very excited about it. It's still the early innings, but we are in it for the long term, and we are a winner. We are here to be more than just a new product to a market, but a brand to admire. We are hiring, and we want to hire top talent in all disciplines. So keep an eye open for new roles, as we want to be a top employer that takes into account diversity and inclusion. We will be a brand in the market offering reliable, flexible solutions and adapt to the customer needs to support the rollout of EV charging in North America. Let's make it happen together.
EVBox will become a household name in the next couple years in America. And Kristof, with your leadership and ramping up hiring, I can't wait to see as you expand throughout America. And Jeremy, Kristof, thank you so much for coming on the Road to Autonomy, discussing this wonderful partnership, because the future is bright, the future is autonomous, and the future is electric. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Grayson.
Thank you, Grayson.
Thank you for listening to the Road to Autonomy podcast. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Want to get in touch? Follow us on Twitter @Road to Autonomy or email podcast@brulteco.com. The Road to Autonomy is produced by Brulte & Company. The views and opinions expressed on the Road to Autonomy podcast do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Brulte & Company. The content discussed on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as legal, tax, investment, or business advice.